Hey internet! I have been on an absolute roll today filming videos, so if you've watched a few and you feel like it's like the same layout, the same makeup look and the same outfits, then that's probably why, because I've just been like bulk filming videos just because I'm like in the mood, and lately I've struggled to like be motivated and be productive and like actually film videos. I feel like it's like a lot of effort. I have to be in the right headspace, I have to be like in the right look, so it's been a bit of a struggle. But yeah, I filmed like a million in a row, so I'm hoping that they all turn out okay and I'm actually like in focus and I actually look okay. I don't absolutely hate them. Recently I filmed a video about living in Australia versus living in England. It's got like 30,000 views or something, which might not seem like that much to most people, but for me, like a small channel that only has like 100 subscribers, it was quite a big deal, and I get a lot of comments, like daily comments on there from people, which I've kind of stopped reading because like at first I was replying and like arguing and stuff, and now I've just kind of given up. But basically, like, it was ages ago. I'd lived in England briefly, and I don't know, some of the opinions I guess are a bit vague because like Australia's a big place and I've only lived in a tiny bit of it, and England's not a big place but kind of, and again I've only lived in a tiny bit of it, so it's hard to give such a broad opinion. So today I thought I'd focus on like a smaller, more specific subject, which is driving, because recently I bought a car here and I've been loving driving again. Like, I just feel so free and it's been great. So I thought I would compare some things driving in Australia versus driving in England. So firstly, parking in England versus parking in Australia. So English people don't really park on driveways. They don't really have driveways. Some people do, but like, I'm trying to like find the words without sounding insulting, because I think it's ridiculous, but I understand why. So basically, like, some people / most people have driveways in the suburbs. In the city obviously no one does, so everyone has to park on the street. But just a lot of people park on the street in stupid places. Like, they're allowed to for some reason, and to be fair, like, it is a small country, like there's a lot of people in it and there isn't enough space for everyone to have a driveway and everyone to be able to park it in a garage or on a driveway. So yeah, basically they just park on the road. So you'll be driving and you'll have to pull in behind a car that's parked to let traffic come through, and then wait, like give way to them and then wait and then have to go. And it's just a bit of a nightmare, honestly. I live in quite a country town and it drives me crazy. I've gotten used to it, and I actually really like people, like when you do let people go, they just wave at you, and like that's common driver courtesy. But in England I feel like the politeness of people is a lot stronger. You can't both go, but you've chosen to pull over to let them go and then you pull back out. It's quite a big effort, and people always thank you. Kind of. Sometimes they don't, and you want to punch them and like follow them and be like, why didn't you thank me? Overall, the parking's just a bit stupid. They park on the road. In Australia, we have massive wide roads and everyone has a driveway and a garage basically, except in the cities, which I guess they do the same thing. I just have never really driven. I drove in Brisbane, that was intense, but I'm pretty sure that they still parked like in car parks and stuff. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you've been to a city in Australia where it's intense and like you have to give way and like pull behind other cars that are parked on the road and you're kind of like, why are you parked there? Also paying for parking. Like, a lot of places in Australia / where I live in Australia, you don't really pay for parking. Grocery stores kind of thing, like the alternative to Sainsbury's and Waitrose, which is like Woolworths and Coles and Aldi and stuff. We just have car parks that you can just park in. Like, I think it's only in the city that you have to park because parking's so in demand, but most of the suburbs, again where I live, are just, you just park, you don't have to pay. It's not really a thing. Like, if you do have to pay, it's kind of like, wait, what, why? And it's mainly in the cities again that you have to pay. In England, you have to pay for parking everywhere, almost, mostly. There's a lot of pay for parking, especially at like grocery stores and stuff. I guess because you're in and out buying groceries, and if people park there then like the actual shoppers can't get to it, if that makes sense. I understand why, it's just an interesting comparison. I just want to make clear that I'm not like hating on one or the other country. I'm literally just kind of sharing the differences that I've noticed. Petrol in England is like double the price that it is in Australia. Again, probably because like, oh, I don't know actually. I don't know why it is. Let me know in the comments if you know why it is. But yeah, it's like half price in Australia, like a lot cheaper. Another thing is insurance. Holy shit tits, when I bought my car, I thought I was getting like a bargain. It was about £1,000, which is the equivalent to 2,000 Australian dollars, roughly. My insurance was double the price of the car, and then some. So that kind of brought me down a lot. And the reason I think that they make it so high in England, just a theory slash what I've heard, is because it's just a bit dangerous, I guess. And like, you really do have small roads, tight spaces, and a lot of idiots. And again, there's a lot of idiots in Australia, like it's a universal thing. People are just idiots in general. But I guess, yeah, they classify it as more dangerous, and young people especially, their insurances are so ridiculously high. And I just don't get how they expect like a 17-year-old to be able to afford a car, insurance, a license, etc. Like, it's ridiculous. And I always thought it was quite pricey in Australia, but it's nothing compared to England. Like, holy shit tits. Obviously in England they use miles, and in Australia we use kilometers. It wasn't that hard to like get used to because I've got a speedometer thing that's in miles. All the speed signs are in miles, so it's not really that hard or different. I feel like me getting a UK license was a bit too easy, like worryingly easy. All I did was fill in this form to swap my Australian license for an English license. Bearing in mind that I'd only been on my open license, which I'll get to and explain, for about, since September. So maybe a year, but I hadn't driven in a year and a half. And they didn't like give me a test or anything. I'd never driven in England, and I hadn't driven a car in a year. But they didn't ask that, they just gave me a license. I feel like that's a bit scary, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not complaining, but I just felt like maybe it should have been a bit tougher. And lastly, I just wanted to like very quickly, briefly explain the differences between how you learn to drive in England and Australia. Because in Australia, every state has a different learning process, but the Queensland one is really intense. I think they've changed it slightly since I learned to drive. But the basics of it is you have your 16th birthday and you are then applicable to get your L plates. To get your L plates, you have to do a theory test, which is just like basic road rules. You can practice online. So like coming up to your 16th birthday, like everyone's frantically practicing online tests and trying to nail it. You go into the transport department on your birthday or anytime after, do this quick test of road rules. It's quite easy, and they kind of help you sometimes. I had a lady who was like, are you sure that's the right answer? And I was like, no, and changed it and like then got 100%. So then you get a little license that's like says that you're a learner, and you get a logbook. Then basically you have until your 17th birthday, so a whole year, to get 100 hours worth of driving. I think 10 of them have to be at night, or maybe 15. And it has to be with someone who's had their open license and have been driving for like more than 3 years, so obviously like a parent. You can take driving lessons which count for double hours. They're really expensive though, so like obviously you can't do that for the whole time, and to get 100 hours is a lot of driving. Then basically like every time you go driving, you write in the start of your odometer, I want to say, the thing that like counts how many kilometers slash miles you've done. And then you write the start, and when you get to somewhere you write the end. You write where you drove to and from, who you were driving with. You have to fill in like their license details, their number plate. It's so intense, and like the date, so you date it all. So it's really like quite strict. It's really hard to fake, although people do. So yeah, then that, once you've got your 100 hours, which took me like a year and 3 months ish to do, and like At first, obviously, it's really scary driving, so you have to get a lot of lessons and really get used to it. Then you are just driving to and from school and to and from the shops and to and from, you know, as much as you can. But again, you have to be with an adult, so that's quite frustrating. And then when you feel like you can drive, you've done your 100 hours, it's been a year since you've passed your test, then you can send your logbook away, wait till it gets approved. You get like a text saying like your logbook's been approved or your logbook hasn't been approved, it's a bit dodgy, you need to properly do the hours. That would suck. Then you have to book in your P's test, which is a practical driving test that you have to pass, and they test you on like a maneuver like parallel parking or like reversing or something, and just kind of take you around and, you know, like a normal driving test. If you pass that, you get a red P plate, which you have to display in your car for a year. And it kind of just lets people know you've just kind of gotten on the roads. You're allowed to drive on your own, like without an adult in the car, but you have like certain restrictions, like you're not allowed any alcohol in your system, you're not allowed anyone in your car that isn't direct family after 11 p.m. I think it is, and like different rules, they've kind of changed I think, but they're the main ones. So then after a year of having your red Ps, at this point you would be 18 at the minimum, like you might not start driving until you're like 20, and then like good luck. After the year of the red Ps, you take an online hazards test. If you pass that, you get a green P plate, and you have that displayed in your car for 2 years. You can drive on your own, you don't need an adult, but you're still not allowed to drink, and I think you still have kind of a few little curfews. Then after those 2 years, you get an open, proper license. You're just a normal driver, and it's good times. So it's a long process, and it's a bit ridiculous, but also like very safe, I feel. So like maybe it's not that bad of an idea. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what your countries or states do. And then in England, I'm pretty sure it's literally just you turn 17 and you can do lessons and all that, and you get like a provisional license where you do driving tests. You book your driving test once you feel like you can drive, and then if you pass, you're a driver. You have an option to get provisional plates just to let people know you started driving, but it's not required. Like, it's not something you have to do. So they literally just do their tests, and then they're drivers. They're on the road, they're crazy, look out. So that is my driving edition of living in Australia versus living in England. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful. Again, let me know in the comments like what your countries do or what your different states do when it comes to driving. Any differences you've noticed in either countries or any of your countries compared to any of mine. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye! Bring all your other hair in and literally just keep plaiting it. Obviously this one's a little bit ear sticky outy, so I always pull a tiny bit, okay, not that much,